means a lot of love.
That's very nice.
I would love to start by talking about Fallout. What was your experience being a part of that series?
It's a big question. It was intimidating at first because you're coming onto something that is so loved, and there's decades of lore behind it, and it's a lot to bite off, so to speak, literally. But no, it was incredible. I say it's the most challenging thing, but the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And obviously, it's changed my life, and I've made lifelong friends, and it still doesn't really feel real. I still kind of can't believe it, but yeah, no regrets.
Is there any scene that you filmed for that series that stood out to you? And it can stand out to you for many reasons, whether it was something that you just really enjoyed or something that you found challenging, or was it something maybe that you were feeling nervous about but were excited about as well?
There are so many. It was a long shoot. It was an 8-month shoot. We went all around the world. We shot mostly in New York, and then we went to Namibia and Utah, and maybe a bit of it was in LA, but I wasn't there for that. My personal favorite scene to film was the one where the ghoul is dunking Lucy in the water to use her as bait. That was so much fun. They were like, oh, your stunt double can do it. And I was like, get me in. Like, I cannot wait. It was so hot. It was like 96 degree Fahrenheit. And poor Walton, he's like covered in prosthetics, sweating out of his eyeballs. And I'm just like in the water with a floaty, like, waiting for someone to hand me a drink. Like, it was great. But then the hardest scene I filmed was the finale. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but there's a lot going on. And there was a certain okie dokie at the very end, which we must have shot it 500 times. It must have been 500 takes. We actually reshot the ending over multiple days because it was so challenging to get the right balance. There's so many different ways to play it that we tried really emotional, really angry, really numb, and I just, we weren't quite nailing it. And then I think it was literally the very last take where I was just genuinely exhausted and ready to be wrapped with the show. And then I did it, and all the writers were like, that's it. We needed to break her, basically. And it came out great.
You mentioned your stunt coordinator. Would you say that was something that you were able to do a lot on the series, was your own stunts?
Yeah, it was something I was really nervous about. I would not consider myself athletic or fit in any way. I get out of breath walking up the stairs. And so when I knew I was gonna have to do loads of stunts, obviously I knew it was Jonathan Nolan and that lot, and obviously I played the game. I knew it was gonna be action heavy. And now it's one of my favorite things to do. And I think that does come from, you just have to really, really trust the team around you. And the stunt coordinator and my personal stunt double, Hannah, is so incredible, and she makes me look way cooler than I actually am. And you learn so much. There's so much joy in you really get to be a kid and play fight, and you can trust them. They're not going to hurt you, and I'm not hopefully going to hurt them. And now I would always want to do my own stunts if I can.
And then when you booked this series, what did you do instantly to prepare, would you say?
I panicked. I panicked first. I focused a lot of my research on Vault Tech. I kind of didn't want to know too much about Vault Tech because, Lucy at the beginning of the show, she's very idealistic, and she is, very pro Vault Tech and optimistic in that way. And so I played the games. I played Fallout 4. I'm not very good, as a disclaimer. I don't know if you want to clap for that. I'm pretty horrible at it. But it was fun, and I mostly just understand the tone. Fans of the game will know that it's so unique. That it's funny and violent and dark, but also goofy, in many ways. And so they were pitching the tone to me before I'd even read the script. I got on a Zoom call with Jonah, Geneva, and Graham, the director and the writers, and they described Lucy as Ned Flanders in the apocalypse. And I was like, absolutely, I am in. But you can't quite grasp it until you see it. And so I played the game. I watched a lot of other people on YouTube playing the game, really, because I realized I wasn't getting very far. And then, what else did I do? Just really prepped my accent with my dialect coach, worked out a bit, I guess. hear the enthusiasm in my voice when I talk about that. That's it, yeah.
And I had heard that you provided some insight into how the Pip-Boys were made. And I believe you said iPhones? They were, yeah, they were iPhones. So with the tech in the show, is there any unique features or details that you noticed that maybe the audience wasn't able to really see on screen?
Yeah, there's so much. So the Pip-Boys were iPhones sideways in this magnetic contraption that goes around your arm. And originally they wanted to do everything. I mean, all the creators of the show are huge fans of the game, which is obviously incredibly helpful and I think very important. So originally they made them true to size and they ended up being so massive they wouldn't fit on anyone's arms. They're just slightly sized down. A lot of the weapons are true to the game as well. In fact, almost all of them, I think. Oh, the power armor. So that was a real thing. There's a guy called Adam Shippey wearing, I mean, he's already tall. He's a stunt guy, so he's like, you know, pretty big. In that suit, there's like a walking 8-foot robot just walking around on stage, like flossing and like dancing and just like having a good time. It never gets old. You're like sitting there eating your lunch and this robot, he's not really a robot, do you know what I mean? He just walks by and you're like, there should be. You know, Jonah likes to do as much as possible real. It's something him and his brother have in common, that, you know, they believe that when you use real practical locations and props and effects, then you get more of a real reaction, and I do think he's right, I agree with him. The Golfer, for example, they actually built a puppet, this giant puppet. It's much easier to be afraid of this actual ginormous monster rather than just like a bloke in a green leotard on his hands and knees. Yeah, what else? Aaron Moten, who plays Maximus, he wore some of the power armor, so he couldn't fit in the whole thing. It's not tall enough. He would hate me for telling you this. So they gave him like a sort of just a top half version, so he wears it up to about here, and it looks ridiculous. It looks great in the show, but in real life, he's just like lumping along like this, hands down to his feet. Yeah, it's all I can think of.
And now, we're not going to spoil what happened in the first season, but a lot happened. So, moving forward, what would you like to see from your character? What are your aspirations for her in her journey?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think what I love about Fallout is I never know what's going to happen. Like, really, every time when I signed up to it, I'd only read episode 1, and then you get the episodes as you're filming, you know, a week before you start. So you really just have to trust the writers and hope that they're going to write something good and something that's exciting to perform and not predictable, and they did not disappoint. I mean, every episode is just bonkers. I would say for season 2, I don't know what's going to happen to Lucy. That's the honest truth. I mean, we leave her in such a vulnerable place, and I feel like she's at a crossroads. She really has to make a choice. Like, she's obviously irreversibly changed, but for better or for worse, I have no idea who Lucy's about to turn into. That's the truth.
And you briefly mentioned there were certain aspects of the show that you kind of wanted to keep a mystery to yourself. And so as an actor, that's something that I'm curious about is now obviously sometimes you don't get the option to really know how things are going to play out because of the secrecy sometimes. But if given the choice, you were to know kind of like how your characters ends up or like where you're going, do you like to have that information to play on, or do you really like to play it kind of episode by episode or like scene by scene?
That's another really, really good question, and it kind of depends. I mean, I grew up doing films. My first TV show was Sweetness when I was 21, and it was really hard for me to not know how it ends up. It's a very difficult thing to give up control in that way, you know, and there's a lot of fear. I mean, they could get me to stand up and look like a chicken and make a funny noise. You just have to do it, you know. They own me. You've got to do whatever they tell you to do, and that's a very terrifying thing for an actor to put that much trust in someone else. But now I kind of love it. As long as you're working with people who are really hugely talented that you completely trust, and you know you have faith in yourself, kind of. Then I think it's actually one of the most enjoyable parts of the job. And it's such a unique experience to acting itself that you really have no idea what you're going to be doing in a month or in, you know, a week. And sometimes that's a challenge, like with Yellowjackets. They wrote me. You guys are so nice. But in Yellowjackets, they wrote me a scene that I really did not agree with, and I really struggled to like justify why Jackie would do that, because I really felt like I knew who she was, and then she was acting in a way that was so out of character, like I didn't feel like I could play it authentically. But then they explained to me, and it makes so much sense, that we don't actually know who we are. You think you know how you're going to respond to a certain situation, and you don't. I just think if someone tried to like mug me on the street, I'd like fight them. I would not. I would probably curl up into a ball on the floor. Like, I'm a freeze kind of fight or flight gal. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen. And I think that was actually the key to Jackie, was that she was put in this unfamiliar situation and she reacted not at all how anyone would have expected her to. I think maybe that's something to keep in mind, that we don't know what's going to happen. We can't predict it. So actually, if you're playing the character as authentically as you can, you shouldn't really know how it's going to go. Yeah.
I love that you brought up Yellowjackets, because that's exactly what I wanted to go into next, especially with like the mystery element of it all. And again, not to get into spoiler territory, but anyone who has seen the show and is familiar with your character may or may not say that Jackie deserved better. Yeah. Because, what would you say? Did Jackie deserve better?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I do, but also, God, it's good writing, isn't it? Like, it's so savage. It is unbelievable. I mean, what is that expression about teenage girls and hell? Hell is nothing like a teenage girl. I've completely butchered that.
Fury like a woman's story.
Sure. Yeah. Justice for Jackie, that's what I'm saying.
And for that project, because you can imagine, like, it's chaotic, it's crazy, the things that are happening. When you read that script, was it instantly like, I love this, I want to be a part of this?
Yes. It was, but also when we signed, that's the funny thing about TV, is you sign up for however many years of your life and you've only read 60 pages. Or I think in our case for the pilot it was 45 pages. And we shot the pilot pre-COVID, and then about a year later, or a year and a half later, they picked it up. And you kind of almost like forgot what you did. I had to go back and watch my original audition tapes, and I completely forgot who Jackie was. I've forgotten your question, did I answer it?
And again, so for anyone who may not be familiar with Yellowjackets, it's essentially two timelines where we get kind of the girls as their teenagers and the girls as their adults. And it's not a spoiler to say that not every teenager we meet has an adult counterpart. So for Jackie, we can say safely that she didn't have an adult counterpart. But if she did, who do you think we would like to see as adult Jackie?
I don't know. Whenever people ask me, anyone I say, it's like I can't. I don't know. Like I don't know. I would want to do someone so random. People tell me I look like Mila Kunis, but then if I say, "Oh, Mila Kunis," everyone's like, like I can't really win. I said the other day. What did I say the other day? I picked a bloke, actually. I picked a man. And then that got so mad. I don't know. I have no idea. Someone really cool. I would choose Helena Bonham Carter because I love her, and I would just love to meet her. But I don't know. Again, I don't know, guys. Maybe we have to petition. Maybe we have to write to them, and then bring back adult Jackie. That's not how it works.
Dream sequence.
Obviously with Yellowjackets, there is a huge mystery in the show, and there's still pieces that are a mystery. At any point during your time on the show, did the crew or did the writers ever give you hints about maybe what's going on? Obviously, I don't know if you can share, but like, just at all, if they give you hints, or was that just a complete mystery?
It was a complete mystery. To be honest, like when I signed up for it, because we'd only read the pilot, I was sort of very focused on the soccer element of it, and then the plane crash, and that's as much as we knew. And we would get the scripts a few days before we'd start filming. And when they introduced this more supernatural element, it was a surprise. I mean, I loved it, but I sort of thought it was going to turn out more like a survivalist drama, more sort of like, what's it called? Lord of the Flies? King of the Flies? Lord of the Flies? Thank you. You guys are really helping me out today. Thank you. But no, and then they added all this sort of like, there's obviously horror elements and supernatural stuff, which I love. I think it adds so much, but I have no idea. I don't know anything about the symbol. I don't know anything about that. Antler Queen. I have no idea. I'm going to watch it along with you guys and try to figure it out. Yeah.
You mentioned like supernatural and horror elements, and so for any future projects that come your way, is there anything in particular that you would really like to sink your teeth into? It could be like a rom-com, or maybe like a period piece, or maybe more supernatural content.
A thriller.
I love doing new things. I get bored easily. I love just doing new things. People ask me like, oh, what kind of things do you look for in a role? And for me, it's variety. I want to try different things. What I haven't done is a musical. God help us, I don't know how it would go, but I'm willing to give it a go. Comedy, I'd love to do more comedy. That's something I haven't done a lot of. Sci-fi things. I've never really done anything in space, not live action. Don't know. I just want to. I want to say I want to do it all. I want to try it all. Never done a romance either. Don't know. Yeah, I'll try it. I'm trying it.
Speaking of doing it all, we have talked a lot about your on-screen roles, but you do voice acting, and there are two projects in particular I would like to ask about your experience on. The first one is Arcane. Can you talk about your experience on that show?
I love that show so much. I love Jinx so much. She's one of my favorite characters I've ever played. She's in my top 3. Voiceover was so, actually Arcane was my first ever voiceover audition. I'd never done a voiceover audition before. My voiceover agent was actually backstage. This dude just took a chance on me, sent me up for this audition the week after, and then somehow here we are with, the second season on the way, and yeah, I absolutely love Jinx. What I loved about her was that she had so many different levels. And she switches between them incredibly fast. And she's funny. Oh, her lines are so funny. She's so much fun to play. Like, honestly, I'm in the booth just like jumping around like a crazy person, like breaking things and trying different things, being really playful. And it's so much fun.
And you mentioned that was your first voiceover audition.
Yeah.
So when you stepped into the booth for the first time, did you have, like, what were you thinking about, like, how the recording session was going to go, or like what the project would be like?
I was so nervous because I didn't know what to do, and it's very, I've got experience doing ADR, and there's certain things, when you're recording lines that you've done before in a live action thing, it's ADR, and they'll have like a little line that comes up, and then when the lines come together, you have to say your line and sync it with your own performance. And I thought it would be like that. It's nothing like that. I was completely wrong. I also was surprised that you don't always have anything to do the lines to, like they do the animation afterwards. So there's loads of things like that I didn't know how it worked, and I was really open to being taught and trying a new thing. And they also said, crucially, that they didn't want Jinx to be exactly like she is in the game. This is a new version of Jinx. This is Arcane Jinx, and they really wanted to make that distinction very obvious, make it a big distinction, which was kind of better for me because I didn't have to try to mimic someone else. I had a bit more like freedom in what I was doing, and I could sort of create this new character from scratch. I mean, obviously they're still similar, they're cousins, not sisters. But yeah, I had a lot more freedom than I previously thought when I went into that audition.
I was going to say, because you did mention variety, and when you get to work with a character like that on a show where the animation comes after, you really do get to go for it and try a bunch of different things and a lot of takes, versus something like ADR where you are matching a performance, or kind of matching the sync and the tone. And so I'm sure like being able to like play around was very exciting.
Yeah. And also I think it helps everyone. It makes it a much more collaborative process, because after a few sessions and a few episodes, when you really start to get a feel for your character, if we all feel like a line's not working, I feel like I'm able to contribute, and like I feel like I would have a better idea of what she would say in this moment. I'm so excited for you guys to see what's coming out in the next season. It's so good. I can't wait.
And the other project that you provide voice work for is Star Trek Prodigy. Can you speak a little bit about that series as well and your experience working on that?
Yeah, no, I never really talk about Star Trek. So I'm glad you asked. I did my audition for that on my iPhone in my wardrobe. I literally sat inside my wardrobe on the floor during COVID, and they had me originally record it in both accents, my natural accent and the American accent. And then I think the second I got a recall, and it was with the Hagemans on Zoom. And it's always better because you get to get feedback and try new things. And what I found very interesting about that character was the relationship between her and her father. And that was, I think, the audition scene. And I played it quite, very like angry and strong, and she was a warrior and a fighter, and they really opened up this very vulnerable side of Quinn, which doesn't always come out. It comes out when she's talking to Dal, it comes out when she's like dreaming of the stars and trying to explore, and that was something that, I would never have come up with on my own, and it was definitely fun to, actually quite challenging to find the right balance in those moments.
And with voiceover work, oftentimes it is an actor in a booth with the director kind of working together. Maybe rarely would actors get to work together, but also with tech these days, it could be possible that maybe you could connect remotely and work off of other actors. Is that something that you ever been able to do in your voiceover work?
I've never ever done that. It's so wild. I think the first time I met the cast of Arcane was at the premiere. I've never worked alongside another actor, actually. But usually you'll have like a reader, or the director will read in with you, which is always really, really fun. I like to, because what makes that fun is that you have no idea really how it's going to come together. You only really see the final product with all of the animation, all of the other actors' voices. Sometimes it's the first time you even see the other actors. Like they were trying to describe in Star Trek what Mirth was going to look like, and they sort of just described them as sort of like a globulus. And I was like, what is that supposed to be? I had no idea. And then I watched it, and he's really cute. Mirth is cute. Everybody needs a Mirth.
Is there any scene between Arcane or Star Trek, because again, also with voice acting, you tend to record kind of just your scenes, and you don't get to see the full project until maybe it's already come out. So was there any scene, and it could be in either one of those projects, that if you saw it, just like blew your mind, like, oh my gosh, wait, that happened?
That's a good question. Yes. I would say for Arcane, it's the finale of season 1. It's just devastating. And I suppose what shocked me about that was how emotional it was. You don't think that animation is going to like move you to tears. It's not really supposed to. Humans are empathetic. Did I say that right? People. So I'm really jet lagged. My brain's like falling out of my body right now. But we respond to other human faces. That's what makes like babies smile when they see other people smile. It's what makes us cry. It's situations like that, and obviously like Animal Planet. But watching animation, and it's so heartbreaking. It makes you feel real emotions, and you're looking at these characters that somebody has drawn. An entire studio has spent years drawing characters to make you feel those emotions. It's an incredible thing to have achieved. And then for Star Trek, I'd actually say Prodigy, it was the opening scene in episode 1 when Dal tries to escape, and there's this crazy long, escape action sequence, which I had no part of that. And watching what Brett did, how funny he made that was so fun. I really had a good time watching that scene.
And we've talked about a few of your projects now. Is there any project that you have worked on that stands out to you? Maybe it was a project that you really learned something about yourself as a performer, or something that you just really had a fun time filming.
Yeah, actually, I just directed my first short film last year called Junk Mail.
Congratulations!
And was amazing. I've always known I wanted to direct, and I just haven't really ever had the time, and also maybe the confidence to do it, because it's something I want so much. And there's that like age-old trope of when it's hard to go after the things that you want, because what if you fail? Then what? But it was incredibly challenging. We did it with a micro budget of $10,000, which I know is a lot of money, but when you're making films, it's really not that much money. And gosh, it was crazy. We shot it in about 12 days. It was very challenging. There were no, we had a lot of restrictions. I'll just say that much. And we had so much fun doing it, and I learned so much. And it gave me a lot of confidence, because I realized that I've been acting since I was 8 years old. It's 20 years of growing up on sets, and sometimes you need to be tested, I think, in order to get that confidence. And I realized I had it in me the whole time. All of those doubts I had about, I don't really know anything about lenses, and I don't really know the technical side of things, and I don't know the right vocabulary. I actually do know it. It's all in there. So it's all in there somewhere. Just need to get it out. And it was incredible, and I'm hoping I'll get another chance to do it this year.
Are there any projects, whether they are professional upcoming projects that you can talk about, or even personal projects that you're working on, that you would like to share?
New Vegas.
I like that you sung it, actually. What do I have? Well, Arcane Season 2 is coming out soon. So nice. What else? I just finished a horror comedy about killer squirrels.
Whoa.
It sounds something. No, I think it's going to be really good, actually. The director is incredibly talented. It's this fun British indie film. I'm hoping will make its way over here, and I think it's going to be good. What else? Oh, I've got a show called, I forgot about this one. I've got a show called Sweet Pea, which is coming out some point soon, maybe. Which is, thank you guys. It's about a female lady. I realized I didn't want to spoil it. It's about a woman who is overlooked, shall we say, and then she finds her power. I'll say that much, and then you just have to Google it and you'll see what I'm trying to avoid saying. But I produced that, and it's a British show that I think is going to be available in the US, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people think of it. Yes.
Thank you so much for spending time with us here today, and thank you all so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining us here at this incredible